Okay, this is the Conservation Commission's meeting, Wednesday, April 20th at 7:05. My name's Kathy Demers, Chair. I'm going to do our roll call. Marilyn Schreiber is here, Pat Phillips, Nora Jones, and Bob Chabot. What I'd like to do, because we're still waiting for Peter and Carol, is if we could table the approval of our minutes, and we're going to move on to present to speak. So I'd like to make a motion that we table approval of regular minutes till the end of this meeting. I hear a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained? Okay. All right, we have on present to speak, we have Hannah Prico. And is this your daughter, Hannah, with you?
Yes, it is.
Oh, wonderful. So from the Girl Scout troop. And what's the troop number?
67079.
67. Say that again.
67079.
Wow, there's a lot of Girl Scout troops. And Hannah, your daughter's name is, I'm sorry.
Helena.
Elena. Hi, Elena.
Helena with an H.
Oh, Helena. Pardon me. I have some hearing trouble.
That's okay. These videos, I'm not sure how great the microphones always are.
It sounds great from here. Is everybody else hearing Hannah and Helena?
Yes.
Great. And Carol's just coming in. So we'll let Carol come in. Hannah and Helena are going to be talking tonight about the Girl Scouts Pollinator Pathway project. Carol, I see that you're coming in. Can you hear me? You can unmute yourself. Okay, and Peter's coming in. All right, good. Gang's all here, except for Jackie. Okay. All right. Carol, can you hear me? If you can, unmute yourself, please. And Peter?
What do you want?
I'm going to rename you. Hi. Well, it says Judy, but I'm going to rename you.
I know that. I was in the process of renaming when you interrupted me.
I'm so sorry. Go ahead. You do it.
I thought I could. I've been practicing.
Okay. There you go. Thanks, Pete. All right. And Carol, if you're there.
My pleasure.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody, for hanging in there while we get everybody on.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Did you want to
How come
join
there's
us?
no picture?
Because you got to click on, there you go. Oh, you're off again. There you go. All right. Well, I see Carol's on, but she's muted and she has no video. So hopefully she can hear us. Carol, if you can hear us, you can unmute and turn off your video camera. So Peter, we were just saying that.
I'll vote for her.
Okay. So we've tabled our regular minutes approval until the end of our agenda here. And Hannah and her daughter Helena are here from Troop 67079, Girl Scout Troop, to talk about the pollinator project that they're working on. So would you, Hannah, are you planning to share a screen, do a presentation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, the girls put together like a PowerPoint slide, short slide presentation.
Wonderful. So you guys have the floor now. Go ahead. And if you
Okay,
want
I'm gonna share my screen. So just let me know that you can see. You should be able to see a purple screen with butterflies.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. So here we go.
Hi, my name is Helena, and I am representing the Girl Scout Troop 67079.
The other girls could not be here tonight because of softball practice and spring break vacations. We are cadets, 6th and 7th graders. Our troop leaders are Hannah Pricko and Tawny Badan. Our troop has 4 girls working on this project. Me, Maren Farrar, Bella Medeiros, and Molly Badan. We are doing this Pollinator project as part of our Silver Award. The Silver Award is the highest award for cadets and Girl Scouts. We need to spend 50 hours per Girl Scout working on the award. The goal of the project is to solve a community issue. The project must be sustainable and long-lasting, helpful to the community, and be educational. All around New England, help pollinator pathways. All around New England help provide habitat for pollinators struggling with habitat loss and fragmentation from harmful effects of pesticides, global warming, and loss of beneficial native plants. Without pollinators, we cannot feel ourselves become pollinators because the plants we rely on, such as fruits and vegetables. Currently, Wellington is not a part of this pollinator pathway in Connecticut, and we would like to put it on the map. For the Fenton Ruby Pollinator Gardens, we chose the location to be in a grassy area across from the parking lot near old homestead Forsythia bush. Yeah. The maximum size will be a rectangle 6 feet by 10 feet. The plants we are likely to include are 2 flowering bushes, approximately 15 perennial plants. Weed prevention will include bagged mulch in order to eliminate potential for jumping worms. Watering and maintenance. All of our girls will take turns throughout spring and summer watering the plants. The expectation with native plants after the first year is that they will become self-sustaining. Girl Scouts will work with Wellington Garden Club on final design of gardens. Girl Scouts will provide pathway garden signs and will display information about the garden on the information board at the parking lot. It depends on the store for our prices, but we have an estimated budget for the pollinator garden. So it depends on the store, what's available, if any will provide discount or donation. Currently working with the Woodland Gardens and the Tri-County Greenery on availability and pricing. Home Depot and Lowe's have some limited plants, which are less expensive. But so for our bags of mulch per garden, we would probably need 8, and that would cost around $30. And then the bushes, we would need 2, and that would cost $50. Perennial plants, we would put 15, and there'd be $150. So in total of all the costs for each garden, it'll be around $230.
Oh, that was an excellent presentation, Helena. Thank you. It's
Thank
great.
you.
Does anybody from the commission have any questions?
Yes, I would like to ask Helena, did I hear you say that you're accepting donations for people to help with the price of the plants?
We are, but we have to accept plants because we cannot accept money for this project.
Oh, okay. So how should I get your telephone number so that after the meeting I would like to donate to your project. So if you don't feel comfortable mentioning your telephone number here, I understand this, 'cause that's a public meeting, but we could figure out a way to for me to get your phone number so that I can donate some plants for you.
Carolyn, call me.
What's that?
You can call me.
Okay. All right. Is that all right, Helena?
Yeah, and we
Okay.
can provide Kathy or Carol or the whole commission with contact info for Connie and myself, and you can contact us.
And Kathy and I, we had some conversation about the commission donating some plants as well. So that's a possibility. When you talk about, is this the cost for this particular garden at Fenton Ruby Park is that estimate, right?
Yeah.
And that's something we can take up later in our meeting too. We can have some discussion on, what we might be able to contribute toward buying the plantings with our budget. So we would take that up later in our meeting. Anybody else have questions for the ladies? Okay. Well, this is exciting. We're really so happy you're endeavoring on this project. And just kind of, I have a couple quick questions. Did you happen to be able to get to any of the other pollinator programs that have been advertised recently? I'm just curious if any of the girls were able to attend.
I know Connie and Molly did a couple of the webinars. The other one that was happening Monday, this is spring break week, so it's kind of a little hard to get everybody to, people had either vacations or activities already done, but I think there's another one coming up that we're going to.
Okay, great.
But the girls have been researching a lot. We have a whole project plan that they've been working on.
Great. And you're going to be working with the garden club as well, which is great. So, and then I know that you had some plans maybe to reach out to the schools as well as to maybe some local businesses. I'm just curious if you've been able to make some connections yet.
You want to tell them about Mr.
We've reached out to the schools, and during Earth Day in the elementary school, we are going to be going there and educating the younger kids and getting it set up to plant.
Mhm. We had a meeting with Phil Stevens, the superintendent, and he was very much on board with the idea. And now they're going to work with the individual principals at the two schools.
And are you
Wonderful. Okay.
talking about putting gardens at both schools? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we even started to talk about initial locations.
Good.
That was a great presentation. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for considering the park too. That'll be a great addition to the park and contribution to the purposes that we have set aside preserved land in Wellington. That's great.
We need more people like you. You're great. It's nice to see that your Girl Scout troop is lending a hand to help make Wellington a good place for the pollinators to keep doing their very important work.
Agree.
Well, Carol and I will keep in touch with both of you. And do you have just any sense of when you might start to work at the park on the garden, or you can let us know later? I mean, it's not.
Yeah, we can let you know. I mean, the sense we've gotten from a lot of the places for plants is that they're just starting to become available, end of April, mid-May. So probably between May and before the end of the school year.
Okay, very good. All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you both for being here tonight, and good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, can you do me a favor? Yeah, you stopped sharing your screen, so we're good. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you and have a good night, everyone.
Yeah,
Good night.
thank you. You too.
Bye.
Right. So we're going to head back on our agenda up to approval of our minutes, which we had tabled.
Excuse me, are other people's screens frozen up? I see a few people moving, but most people have frozen up, or half the people now.
Everybody wave. Are you?
All right. Patty looks like she's frozen in a catatonic state, but
She's deep in thought. All
Looks
right.
fine to me. Like she's
Nora's
alive and
frozen
kicking. I
now.
don't know, Pete.
Nora's frozen
No, she.
like
All
this.
So we had I
Anyway,
had sent out regular minutes to everybody as well as our special meeting minutes. We're going to vote on approving those. First, the regular minutes of March 16th, 2022. I hear a motion to approve.
so move.
Well, okay, a second.
Second.
Okay, Pete and Bob, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay, if you weren't here at the last meeting, you can abstain because you weren't here. Although actually, I think with minutes, anybody, I think even if you weren't at the last meeting, I don't remember. Carol, you can tell me if that's true.
I don't know. I have to look, I'll check out Robert's rules and see what it
See what it says. Okay.
I'll abstain then.
Okay.
Last minute meeting.
I think traditionally we have done that if people weren't at the meeting, then they usually abstained. But you know, the other thing is people can watch the videos if you can't attend the meeting and you're reading the minutes, obviously, so you would know what's going on. Peter, are you taking minutes as we speak? Are you?
I
able-
wasn't, but I guess I can.
Would you be willing to do that? I'll try to keep things on the brief.
Let me find a chalkboard and a crayon.
Okay, moving on to minutes from March 23rd, which was a special meeting that we noticed because we were going to be meeting with the Girl Scouts at the park and Carol and I were present. There were no other commission members there. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from March 23rd. Do I hear a second?
I'll second. Although it's not real, strictly speaking, an official meeting because it lacked a quorum, but you know, we can still approve.
Right.
And so it's more a notice of what happened and what took place at that meeting.
It was noticed at the meeting.
Yeah, we had to stand in various places so they could take a picture of where they were going to put the garden. They wanted us to pose as shrubs, but it was fun. Take me back a lot of years.
All right. And all in favor? Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
As Carol said, it's probably just more of a memo on what actually happened rather than minutes. And then the last one we had, many of us were in attendance on March 25th, 2022, which was really a discussion for the ARPA funding request. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, or excuse me, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so moved. Thanks. All right, finance. Carol, do you have anything you want to update us with?
No, basically, still the same figure. We have a balance of $1,122.14, but of that, 150 is encumbered to pay for Barbara Austin's walk in June, that leaving an unencumbered balance of $972.14.
Okay. Peter, do you have that? 972 unencumbered?
And 14 cents.
And for 14, you really got to get picky. We can always round.
Okay, thanks. All right, update old business, update on the Talmadge Estate property. Just got word from Mike D'Amato today that he has received the map description, and I just want to double check there. Just sent it just So we have the property description as well as a digital map, and they're just finishing up the Mylars, which should be back to the town next week. And the total acreage came in at 16.43 acres. The assessor had estimated 16.17, which was used in our grant. So we're very fortunate. We came in a little over what was estimated. So we didn't want to come in under because of the grant. That could have been an issue. So that's good news. Properties management, Fenton Ruby Park. Peter and Joe Filippi and Chris and I were out there on April 4th with some folks from the Public Works Department, and we got the viewing platform back in place. They also brought in some pea stone because we had to move one of the picnic tables out of the way to be able to get the excavator down there to lift the platform up. And it kind of put some ruts and such in. So they brought in some pea stone and re-leveled so we could put the table back in place. But you'll still see there's some ruts above that just from the weight of the excavator. And I think we might want to work on getting some loam in there and planting some grass seed at some point. My only concern about bringing loam in, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Asian jumping worm. And a lot of what is being said now to reduce the risk of introducing it to areas that don't presently have it is being very careful and cautious about bringing in any kind of soil and or mulch. And that was one of the things we talked about with the Girl Scouts, that if they were going to bring in mulch, they had to use something that was bagged. And that had been, and the other thing they're planning to do actually is let that bag mulch sit out in the hot sun for a couple of days. Because if you warm up the mulch or the soil to, I forget, 140 degrees, which you can probably do either from a compost pile that's real active, or you put the bagged materials out in the sun, it kills the jumping worm and their eggs. So these jumping worms are non-native, like all the rest really of the worms that we have in Connecticut. But the problem is they're very prolific, and they're reducing a lot of the humus or the humus in the soil in the forest as well. They're very destructive in terms of soil nutrients, and so there's a real concern about them. Some of you might actually have them here on our property. Last year I saw quite a lot of evidence of them. They leave like castings on top of the soil that look kind of like large coffee grounds. And if you find the worm itself, it is very active. If you touch it, it'll just jiggle and go kind of spastic and crazy. But it looks pretty much like a regular earthworm. So.
They'll move like a snake too if you put them down on the ground, side to side, just in the same wavy pattern that a snake will move.
And if you cut them in two, you then have you have two of them. No, I'm serious.
I know, I believe you.
So if you do happen to find some on your own property, what they say to do is put them in a plastic bag and leave them out in the sun, and it'll kill them. So, sorry to say that we have to do that, but they're very detrimental to forest soils. So we really don't want to be, I don't know if there's some in the park, I'd have to go out. The adults die at the end of the season, but they lay their eggs in soil and under the leaf litter. And then the eggs hatch again like late May, June. So you're not going to see the adult worms until this summer or later. So it's hard to know right now if there's some in the park or not.
Kathy, how much soil do we need to repair the
loam?
Would it be feasible to use can you get bagged soil that would be safe?
You can. Again, I think if we do, even if we buy bagged soil, I think we're going to have to be cautious about where we get it and maybe leave it out in the sun, let it really heat up, because, some of this stuff is sitting on, where there might be worms that can somehow enter some of the soil bags, or we don't even know how it was processed when it came into the retailer. So Yeah, it's
They-
a shame.
Could they
Yeah.
stay over a year like?
I don't remember that those ruts were all that deep, but I'll bet we could just get a wheelbarrow and a shovel and pick and dig some soil out somewhere nearby there and just
Yeah.
right directly from the park over on the side of the picnic area somewhere and fill it in that way.
That's a
Or
good,
just shovel the edges of the ruts in a little bit. The grass will fill in by the middle of the season anyway.
that's a good idea, Pete. Just bring it, if we're gonna use any soil, just use park soil. Good idea. And we might even be able to go down by the Ruby Trail or down by the end of Burma Road and find some soil we can dig out of the side of a bank or something. Okay, good thought. All right, Peter, do you have anything else you want to mention about the viewing platform for that work?
Well, we stood the plaque stone up too.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Kathy and
Glad
I
you did
did
that.
some,
I had noticed that. It was a little,
Kathy and I did some excavation around it and they put the loader up against it and tilted it back up. We filled it back in, so.
yeah, it was looking a little precarious.
uh,
Okay, Knowlton Preserve. I don't really have a lot to say about that. We had talked last time about working maybe on putting in some trail crossing signs and also maybe a kiosk at some point. I've been talking to Ken Flewitt, who's the Boy Scout leader, and he said he has 2 scouts looking for Eagle projects. And so I said, maybe we can have more conversation at the park work day on Saturday because the scouts will be out there helping us. So there might be some potential there to have them help us with some of those projects, or even putting in a trail on the Knowlton that we discussed. So thoughts on that? I had sent out an email to you last week, just showing you some signage that Carol and I have talked about this because she's worked on this as well. And I had sent something that looked like that as a potential trail sign. It was a picture of a hiker and it says hiking trail, just so it would alert drivers that there's potentially somebody crossing, but also lets people know that there's a hiking trail in the area, and we could put them by the Knowlton parking lot and then over by the Nipmuc Trail crossing. Had looked online for some costs, and depending on the grade of aluminum that you purchase or that you use for the signage, as well as the reflective coating, it can run between $26 to $30 per sign. And we already have the posts, so we don't have to worry about costs for that. So that's something we can think about. I think the total cost I came up with, if we bought the highly reflective signs with the higher thickness of aluminum, they have a 10-year warranty that they're not supposed to deteriorate or fade. 4 signs would cost us about $112, and it's free shipping. And we'd have to figure out how to let them know that they shouldn't tax the town. But
Yeah, couple things. One was, I kind of like the one, there's also a sign that shows a larger and a smaller hiker figure. And I thought that might be nice because that might alert people to the presence of children as well as adults using a hiking trail. And I don't know whether I think the major place we need it would be where the parking lot is. But I just, out of curiosity, I did a little drive around in Mansfield, and I discovered that the Nipmuc Trail doesn't use any signage at all, even when their trails cross numbered highways, except for small, the oval signs that say Nipmuc Trail or blue arrows and that kind of thing. And neither does Joshua's Trust and some of their trails. I looked at some of the trails in Ashford, in Mansfield, and there were places where the only indication of a trail was blazes on either side of the road. and where there were parking areas where people could park and would have to cross the road to get to the trail. So, you know, there doesn't seem to be any kind of a standard on using trail signage. So just throw that out there for, you know, so maybe we, if we need anything, would only be where the parking lot is.
Okay. Any other thoughts on signage? I know we had some conversation about this last time. I remember, Peter, I think you said you didn't feel that they were necessary. But
Well, nothing bright and too big. I mean, something small there wouldn't hurt, maybe just by the parking lot. It's not a highly traveled road. It's not like there's tons of traffic going by there and someone will say, oh, there's a hiking trail, let's come by. Let's come back here, because I don't think it's a tourist road, and those that might travel through it as a commuter every day have, I think, probably noticed the trails. So, and again, as I said, it's people crossing the road are not in danger of high-speed traffic, so it's limited value in my perspective.
And the crossing, actually, the other crossing has signage that is typical of other Nipmuc Trail crossing signage already. So I don't know that we would need to improve on, you know, change that necessarily.
Carol, you, for some reason, I didn't hear most of what you said. My screen was freezing up. Did other people have any difficulty?
I was
No.
just commenting, Kathy, that the existing signage where the Nipmuc crosses is pretty much standard for what CFPA seems to do for marking Nipmuc Trail crossings. So we might not need to do anything further at that location.
Okay, all right. Well, you know, again, this is something we can just keep on our list here and then kind of see perhaps at the June meeting, if we still have any funds left over, you know, we can consider perhaps using them for something like signs, since it wouldn't be that big of an expense.
Or you could just route some simple sign that said trail.
Yeah, okay. Well, if you get the urge to do that, Peter, let us know.
Just reminding you, I'm happy to do the painting, Peter, if you do the routing.
Someone could make a simple sign and put it there where the trail.
Or whoever.
Okay, well, if somebody gets the urge to do that, let us know. New trail stewards. So I think I had sent out a list of the trail stewards probably it was a month ago or more. We do have 6 people who have volunteered to be trail stewards. Carol and Dave had graciously offered to do the Knowlton Trail originally, but I did have a graduate student from UConn that kind of came and let me know he was very interested in doing the trail. So I did speak to Carol about that, and she said she and Dave would be happy to allow another person to kind of take that on. And those of you that are coming to the park this weekend or this Saturday will meet him. His name is Alec Janis, and he's a graduate student at UConn in the Department of Natural Resources. He's doing work on water quality. So might be another nice person to have a connection with. He is a resident of Ashford. He doesn't live in Willington. But I personally don't see that as being a problem. We have a lot of people using our trail systems that are non-residents. So if they want to volunteer to help, I personally don't see a problem with that. Anybody have any concerns about that? Non-residents being trail stewards? Okay. All right.
Nope.
My internet connection keeps going in and out. So I'm sorry if I'm causing some freezing here. Was there anybody else that wanted to say anything about trail stewards? I can list them again for you if you'd like to hear. Connie Bedan, who's one of the Girl Scout leaders, she and her husband are the steward for Taylor, the Taylor Trail. And Julia's trail, Patty. Patty, is Red gonna join you as a steward?
Is he going to join this Saturday at the meeting or as a steward with me? Yeah, he'll do it with me for sure. I'm not sure if we'll be able to make Saturday's meeting though.
Sure, but I
Yep.
can put him down as a steward with you on
Yes.
Julie? Okay,
Yep.
awesome. Great. On the Ruby Trail, Kane, that's Kayne, Graveline has volunteered. On the Weigold, Josh Langevin. And then on the Talmadge Trail, Kathy and Bill Bland. So we have, and Kathy and Bill will be coming on Saturday as well. So you get to meet them if you don't know them already.
Kathy, I don't know if this is appropriate, but I can help out. I wasn't at that meeting, but I don't know. I could be a filler. I know I can't be there Saturday as well, but Mark and I would be willing to be backup, or I know we weren't there. I wasn't here at the meeting, but we're willing to do that.
Great, that's
You
great.
put
Well,
me as backup because
okay,
I wasn't at the meeting, so I wasn't able to say that I could help out, but I could help Patty, whatever.
oh, great, okay, well,
That'd be great. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if there's something that comes up during the summer too, and I get a message from somebody that there's a tree down or whatever, I might just put a note out to folks and say, can anybody get over to the park and clear that up or whatever? So that would be really helpful.
Mark and I
Okay.
are willing to help, so.
Excellent. Okay. So park work day, Saturday, 9:30 to 12 noon. So far, I had put an advertisement out to the Friends of Fenton Ruby Park, and I have 8 volunteers coming.
Nice.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that doesn't include us. So we should have about 16 volunteers, not
Ooh.
including the Boy Scouts. So
Wow.
Ken Follett is coming with Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts are going to be working on the bridges. So we have 2 bridges that need to be, one has to be rebuilt on Julia's, the one closest to, it's one of the further ones out, and it's close to the river, not too far from the river. And then the other one is probably the furthest point around on Julia's Trail. It's a 3-section bridge that has some rotten stringers, and so the boards are going to have to be taken off and new stringers put in. So we have all of the materials list for that, and what I'd like to suggest is my husband Chris is willing to work on one of the bridges with the Scouts, because I'd like to see a commission member on each of the bridge projects. So if Pete wouldn't mind being on the other one, there'll be 2 Scout leaders there, so they can split the boys up, and half the boys can go on one of the projects to take out the lumber, and half on the other, and then Pete and Chris would be working on both those projects. So, and then the rest of the volunteers, what we really need to do is we need to brush out the meadows that are on Taylor Pond Trail. So there's 2 small meadows. There's a lot of saplings that have come up all along the edges of those meadows. There's some invasive plants. So I think what I'd like to do is direct those volunteers, and I'd be happy to kind of lead that crew out, get them working out there. So what we really need is for folks to bring clippers, long-handled clippers, so you can clip out some of the saplings that are growing and some of the invasives that are there. Chris is working on trying to get the gas-powered electric trimmer that the commission has up and running. We're still looking to get a part to be able to put on the cutting blade, because there's a little nut that has to be put on there. We can't seem to find that. So we're going to pick one of those up at one of the equipment shops there. So that should be available to us too.
Not a big deal, but it's not an electric.
Oh, excuse me, gas powered, did I say? I'm sorry. Yep, gas powered. So he's got it up and running. It's running okay. We just need to be able to put the blade on it, because right now there's a string trimmer attachment on it. And let's see, what are we gonna need that day? Oh, the other thing is if we finish up on the meadows and we still have some time, we can go over to the Taylor Homestead by the Ruby Trail. And there's lots of things in there we can start to clear out if we have extra time. So that'll be kind of our backup. So some of you have volunteered to bring refreshments. So at noon we'll break and we'll go over back to the picnic tables by the parking area. I'm gonna pick up some water and also some apple cider. And Marilyn, Patty, and Nora so far had told me that they're gonna bring some cookies or brownies. Nora, I know you're gonna drop them off to me on Friday.
But memorial service, so we're leaving Wellington at 9, so it'll be about 9.
That's fine. And if you want to bring them over Thursday night, or if it's too much, Nora, truly, don't worry about it.
No, that's
Oh,
good.
sounds-
I want to help out because I felt like I wanted to help out, so it's good.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you. Okay.
Do you need me to pick up some water or juices or anything? It sounds like you're gonna have some.
Yeah, I'll be good.
Yes.
Friday, I've got time to go shopping. Yeah,
Kathy, do you have a head count? Because we know that young Boy Scouts can eat a lot of cookies. And we don't want, no, I'm serious. If you're gonna have the kids help, you don't want, you want them to feel really good at the end. How many children do you think will be there?
as far as Ken Follett told me that they have 13 members, but only about 10 typically come, for these kinds of events. And I should have mentioned too, they put in a camping application, which I've, received and looked over. I also sent a copy to Pete to look over. And they want to stay, they're going to plan to camp out at the park on Friday and Saturday. And so they're bringing their own food. And Ken told me what he was probably going to do on Saturday after they finish working at 12 is he was going to order pizza to be delivered to the park for the kids.
Boy, that's the true spirit of camping, right? Cook your pizza over a campfire.
So where they're going to camp, I did go out with Ken and we walked around the park. I showed him where the 2 bridges are that the boys will have to bring the materials out to. And they're going to be camping. If you go to the end of Burma Road, they're going to park out there by where the rocks are, and they're going to be sure to be out of the way of the DePilka's access to their property. But they're going to go out from the rocks and walk up Burma Road, the part of the road that we don't keep open anymore. And they're going to go up there and they're going to be camping close to where the landing is that we use for the timber harvest. So there's a flat open area there. He said they'd probably have maybe 5 tents for the kids there, 5 or 6 tents. So, and we did talk about whether or not they would be able to have an open campfire. And I told him that I'm going to check with the fire marshal on Friday to find out if there's a fire danger or not. And if it's not appropriate if it's high fire danger, they can't have a campfire. So.
Yeah, because the camping, there is a section in the park management plan, the local park management plan, not as opposed to the forestry plan, that suggests that we prefer not to have open fires. So,
right. I think, Ken was saying, it's just one of those experiences that the kids really enjoy at the end of the day. He said, they go camping a lot, and he's really a stickler about making sure there's, it's a safe campfire and that they're putting it out with water and stirring the ashes and all that stuff. I mean, obviously they're camping right there, so they're going to be very careful with, not wanting to start any fires right in that area. So, but, if it's a low fire danger, I think, we do allow it on our permit. So,
it is.
yeah. So,
Can I
any-
ask a quick question?
yeah.
So on the White Trail, who burned out that tree at the end of the White Trail?
I'm not
The
sure.
fall-
Probably the Indians. That's been there a long time.
Center, okay,
I'm sorry, the Native Americans, I'm sorry.
indigenous
Well,
people.
But
Right
but we
there.
have in the past found indications that people started fire. Somebody tried to start a fire off of the Taylor Pond Trail at one time. And they must have been really, had no camping experience whatsoever, because they ended up with a bunch of not cooked at all onions. And I forget what else we found there, but it wasn't a fire of any substance. But that's about the only incident I can remember of somebody trying to start a fire in the park.
Now, there's been a few out there here and there.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
So
not
that
too
hollow on
many.
White Trail, the hollow on the White Trail has been there for a long time.
The
Yeah,
big
it
oak-
has.
The big oak tree, yeah.
Yeah.
I just
So
noticed.
I will make 24 either cupcakes or muffins or something like that
Okay, thanks,
to
Mary.
bring.
Okay,
So that,
Too,
yeah.
okay.
too.
I can make some, I guess I can make some of my applesauce raisin cookies.
Okay, great. That's
That's
great.
my favorite.
You like those? Okay.
We'll
All right,
keep those
I
boys,
gotta
those
make
Boy Scouts will be
cookies, but I
fueled.
won't be at the park because I gotta make cookies. If I'm gonna make those on Friday for that, I gotta make cookies on Saturday for church, something at church, so.
So Carol, are you planning to drop them off at the park on Saturday, or what would your plan
I
be?
can, whatever, I can either get them to you or I could drop them off at the park.
Okay, on Saturday morning?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, okay, I mean, just let me know.
But
what you
Since
plan.
you've got so many people there, I don't feel obliged to stay.
Well, you're welcome. You're more than welcome. But we'll probably be out on the trail. If we're not there when you come, I'm just trying
Would
to
it be
think.
easier? I can get them to you, Kathy,
Okay,
on Friday
sure.
sometime.
Oh, great.
Whatever. I'll call, I'll touch base with you.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's see. I'm just seeing if there was anything else on that. Anybody else have any questions for Saturday? So bring gloves, loppers. Peter's got his own set of things he's gonna bring out for the bridges, and Chris. Make sure you have bug spray. There are ticks about. I have had them on me already. So if you have spray or however you like to protect yourself, just be sure you do that. We don't want anybody getting sick with Lyme disease.
Do you have anywhere you want us to park, or does it matter?
Oh, good question, Patty. There'll be a lot of people, and we have the Boy Scouts parking at the end of Burma Road on Friday night. So their cars should not be in the main parking lot. If we get there at 9:30, we could potentially have some other residents out there at the park. But if we need overload parking, we could park probably up in the hayfield. So there's a little entrance, do you know where it is? Just where the hayfield is? We
Yeah.
could have people drive in there and just park in that section there. Bob Bittner also told me he's not available to come to help at the park, but he has 2 small parking spaces in his driveway, kind of a little parking area right on his driveway that people could park there. So if we need overflow, we can park people there. So, but good question. I think I've counted before, if we put people in tightly at the main parking lot, you can get 10 or 11 cars in there pretty easily. I'll get there early. So as people come in, I'll try to make sure people are parking kind of tight, So,
Okay.
but that's a great question. Any other
Could send them up
ideas?
to my house too,
Oh, okay. Thanks, Nora.
24. If
Okay.
anybody wants a short jaunt.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions about the workday? Okay,
Oh, has anyone looked at the weather for Saturday? I have not. I have no idea.
62 degrees.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. No rain or
Part-
who cares?
partly
No,
sunny.
no precip. Nope, at this time.
Great.
Town development. Anybody have anything they want to share? Okay. Collaborative organizations. I don't have anything really to share on any of the other organizations. Anybody else know of anything? Okay, Regional Pollinator Pathway Initiative. We heard from the Girl Scouts tonight. And it's it sounds like they've got a good plan. They're going to be working with the garden club, which is great to kind of plan things out. And sounds like they have a reasonable size for the garden. And they came up with that list of potential costs. Sounds like it was 230. And as they mentioned, we cannot actually give them the money for them to go and buy the plants. We would have to, they could tell us where the plants are, and we could get the money to the nursery of their choice and let them know that that money is for the Girl Scouts to pick up the plants. So that we'd have to arrange something like that to be able to contribute from our budget.
Yeah,
Carolyn?
Girl Scouts are very, very difficult to work with on financial matters. They're very reluctant to have individual troops doing projects, which is unfortunate. They can be very restrictive. So yeah, it puts a burden on people who want to donate, because we have to donate. We would have to donate the actual plants rather than just give the kids, the troop, the money to buy the plants. But it is what it is.
Cumbersome.
Yes.
I would say if we are going to donate plants, that we should not buy them from a big box store, because they spray them with all kinds. They are not a good neighbor they're a good neighbor to their own profit margins. They're not a good neighbor to the natural world. And I would suggest that we try to buy from Tri-County or Sean Patrick's. I don't know Sean Patrick's, but I really like Tri-County because their mission statement is outstanding. And they're really nice people there.
That's great. I agree with Don Patrick. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, but they're looking to plant a lot of native plants, and so I think that's and they've been getting advice from Jen from the garden club, and she was there when we met with the kids too. So I think we can coordinate with them if they would like, if we decide to contribute plants, which I think would be really nice to do if we still have enough money.
What I'd like to suggest that we do, because I'm not sure exactly when they're going to be needing to pick up these plants, and I'd like to move that the Conservation Commission provide up to $250 worth of support to the Girl Scouts to buy plants for the pollinator garden at Fenton River Park.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
I agree with Marilyn. I'd love to support a local.
Okay, so we'll make sure that when we're working with them, when they come up with their list of perennials that they need and shrubs, that we would reach out to, and they probably will even guide us to tell us where they want to buy them from. They said Tri-County or Woodland Gardens in Tolland. We can even check with Sean Patrick, so we can make sure that we're buying through some of the more local providers and are more likely to have, like you said, products that are grown locally as well. All right, so all in favor of expending up to $250 for the pollinator pathway effort by the Girl Scouts?
All right.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so moved.
Kathy, could you give me the names of those two ladies that did the presentation, please?
Yes, it was Hannah Pritko. I forget, I'll give you the correct spelling, Peter, I'll send it to you. And
Oh,
her
I
daughter
think
was,
They live right across the street where the Ladders used to live.
and her daughter's name was Helena, Helena.
It'll directly across the street from us.
You know, the other thing too is we could always, the pollinator signs that we discussed, I think, a couple meetings ago, they're $10. That's again, something we could buy and have sent to us and then provide it to the girls to put up in the pollinator garden. So that's another, you know, item that could be part of that $250. We'll have to figure out though, Carol, how we're going to pay the nurseries. So. We'll work-
Probably the easiest way would be I'd be happy to advance the money and get reimbursed, put in for reimbursement. Once we know the actual cost, because it's going to be a little bit iffy if we know, you know, and it'd be easy for me to coordinate stuff since Hannah's I just have to go out the front door and shout. You know, if that works out, then I'd be happy to do that. But I think that would be the most straightforward way, would be to have one of us front the money and then get reimbursed, because it's going to be a little bit tricky because we don't know exactly how it's going to be used. Well, we'll sort it out somehow or other.
Okay, great. Going back to Park Day, the one thing that I forgot to mention is that we need to vote on materials. So Chris and Peter and I came up with a materials list, and we talked to Willards ahead of time. And the total cost for that and screws is going to be $540. So I'd like to make a motion that Mission Commission expend up to, I'm just going to say expend up to $600 for building materials related to repair bridges and boardwalks at Fenton Ruby Park.
Okay, so that's going to use up most of our. So if we've committed $250 to the Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
And how much, Kathy?
600, Carol.
600.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to leave us with not much. Somebody refresh my memory. They're not doing the farm tour this spring, right? They're changing it and they're doing it in
the fall.
In the fall, right?
Yeah.
So that'll leave us with, whoops, not 6,600. Well. All right, 972 minus 850. Leave us with $122 to expend between now and the end of the year.
And I can amend that to be 550, Carol, because we got a pretty firm number.
No, let's leave it at 600. And we know we've got a little bit of wiggle room and with the Girl Scout project also. So
Okay.
I think we'll be fine.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if we're expending $600 and $250 for the Girl Scouts out of the 972, I come up with 122 left. Is that what
Yeah.
you come up with?
Yep, that's what I came up with.
Okay, great. Okay.
But it's good for
So
us.
I have a
When we're
motion on
asking
the
for
table.
money from other sources, it's nice to be using up our money, because we don't always do that. And it looks better if we are actually finding that we needed all of the money that we were allotted.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, thanks, Peter. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? So moved. All right, moving along. Nature hike at Fenton Ruby Park on June 4th. I've been back in touch with Barbara. I let her know that we approved a stipend for her to do that program. She's very excited. She really is looking forward to getting back out on the trails with people. So we've started to advertise that. It's on our website. It's on Park and Rec's website. We're going to be putting up, what I was going to do is put up posters at the Fenton Ruby Park this weekend and over at the post office and the library. So that's going to be from 1 to 3. We do not have a rain date for that because Barbara's not available the next day. And we're looking to register about 20 people. We may have to have some volunteers come out that day and maybe be present to kind of bring up the rear as they're walking on the trails. And also maybe to help with parking, because that could become an issue that day when people arrive at, around 1, especially if there's other people out there just using the trail system. So we'll talk about that in May. Any questions about the nature hike? If you're interested, if you know somebody who's interested in registering, they can go on the Park and Rec site, because we're using a registration form that they came up with for the program. That's their contribution. They're helping out with doing the registration.
And Kathy, what was the suggested number? Was it like 20 or something?
20, yeah.
So maybe if some of us might only go along if the you don't meet that registration number, because I think it's good for us to have as many people who have not used the park or have not had that experience of walking with Barbara, get priority over those of us who have.
Great. So my suggestion would be that none of us should be registering, but if you have a friend or a family member who's interested, they should register, and then we'll know how many people, and then we can kind of say, hey, we've got, of us could be there if we want to be there to help out. Because we just want to make sure there aren't too many people that just show up at the park. If we don't have people register, you could have 50 people, and that would not be a very good experience for people on the trail. Okay, ARPA requests on, trying to think exactly what date Monday. I did make our ARPA requests to the committee, and they approved moving our request forward to town meeting, because they're putting any of them that they approve, they're putting forward to town meeting. So both of the requests that we had, the $2,800 for the forest management plan and the $3,500 for building materials for the park, they were very happy to move that on to town meeting. So I don't know when that meeting date will be, but I'll let everybody know so you can vote. We had voted on the DR trimmer mower, but as I was trying to put something together for ARPA, I found that the one that we had discussed did not have the self-propelled feature, which would be almost $500 more. So I had sent an email out to you telling you that I was not going to put that ARPA request in yet, and that we could discuss whether or not we wanted to revote to put in a new, put in an ARPA request for the different mower or not. I did send you a link to the DR trimmer site that had information about the one that's self-propelled, the Pro XL SP. And the base model is almost $1,300. And if we added a beaver blade attachment and some pre-cut trimmer cord to that, it would come up to almost $1,500. So that's something we can discuss tonight. I will tell you, I'm a little more hesitant right now to have us take on a piece of equipment, just because of just having to deal with this other one, the brush cutter that Chris is working on. He spent like 3 hours on this today, just trying to get that thing up and running. So I did talk to Troy at Public Works before he left, and I did talk to Alan Humphreys from Park and Rec. Neither of those departments have anything like this. They don't have a push brush cutter or trimmer mower. So it's not something that the town does own. And Park and Rec might have a little space to stick it in, but it was kind of iffy. And Troy told me that he could not make a commitment because he was leaving, but he thought that, whoever might be in charge at Public Works, able to find a place for it if it was something that we purchased. But he didn't think that Public Works probably have another use for it, and nor did Alan from Park and Rec. So it would primarily be used by our commission. Any thoughts on that? Yeah, Marilyn.
Is there a possibility that this is the kind of equipment that we could rent from the company that's on 195 across from Pro Health Physicians
Yeah.
next
Pat,
to
is it Pat?
Johnson, next to Johnson's car
Oh.
repair shop.
Yeah, it is actually. I had called before last meeting. I had called and found out it would be $70 a day to rent a self-propelled push, not push, but a self-propelled walk behind type of mower like that. You'd have to pick it.
That might be the wisest choice because it's $70 for the day. You take it back, you're done with it.
Yeah, they do all the maintenance. They fill it up with gas and oil. They check it out. I guess I'm feeling like that might be a better way to go at this point. Because I know honestly, it's going to become Chris and my responsibility because nobody else has a truck and.
Right. How does that company also deliver, or do we have to have a vehicle that is capable of moving it?
We have to pick it up and take it back. So it would be something, Chris and I would be willing to do that, but I don't want to be worried about storing it at our house or anything.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
maintaining
It's
it.
too much of a responsibility and and we wouldn't necessarily want somebody to have the responsibility of maintaining it, which would mean we'd have to take it for maintenance or repairs probably anyway, and would be an added cost.
I might see how things go this Saturday when we're using clippers and just the gas powered hand trimmer that we have and see how that all goes. Maybe we'll be able to knock it back with that many volunteers and we won't have to do it again for a couple of years or, once a year, more of a light brushing. So.
It was a
Anybody
good,
else have
I think
some
it was just a good
comments on that?
it was a good exercise to decide whether or not we need it. And now that we've thought it through a little further, it seems like renting it at some point might be the easiest workaround.
Anybody else? Thoughts?
Yeah,
So,
let's go with the rental option, try that out, see how that works. If for some reason it doesn't work, it's inconvenient in some way, or it's too heavy and doesn't go across the bridge and up and down the dam there because it's too big or whatever, like that. But we could give that a shot, I would say.
I will tell you during the ARPA commission meeting, they did ask some questions about, our requests. One of them was, why didn't we ask for this money in our regular budget? Why were we bringing it before ARPA? So that's another, in the future, if we decided that we wanted to try to buy one of these brush cutters to have for the CC, then we could ask it in our regular budget request. So, we do have some options and we certainly could increase our requests in the future too, if we have other needs.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many years it's been that we have, the most we've ever gotten as a budget since I've been keeping records is 2000 and most of the time, probably 90% of our budgets have been 1,500 and, and I think one couple of years even less than that. So it's not like we've been costing the town a lot of money.
Okay, so since anybody else have comments before, because what I'd like to say is we're going to have to probably walk back our request or our vote, if you will, because we voted that we would have that request. So we'll probably have to have another vote on this to withdraw our ARPA request.
I'll move that we withdraw the that we not put forward, or maybe not just better, that we not put forward a request for what's the name of it?
It was
A brush cutter, a 22-inch brush cutter.
a trim.
I don't think we need,
It was a trimmer mower. Is what our
Trimmer
motion
mower,
was before,
yeah.
Carol.
sure, that we not put forward that request to the ARPA committee.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Abstain? So moved. Okay, thanks, guys. All right, and then let's see, I have nothing under other for old business. Does anybody else have anything they want to add to the agenda? For old business? Under new business, for communications, we didn't really get anything in the mail. But I had sent you some forwarded emails from Mark Palmer, who's
Yes.
our town historian, and he had a lot of historical information about the old Jared Sparks farm that he has been working on. Anybody have anything they'd like to say about that after having read it?
I'll be honest, I didn't read it. Sorry.
Dave?
Well, I'll just, I'll talk about the part of that old Sparks farm that's going to, that the Powell estate is gonna have logged again. And the Mr. Powell, before he passed, he had the land surveyed, and I don't know, they looked at it in a number of ways with resources and historical resources in mind. And at one point, he approached Joshua's about taking that. And I think the trip up there, and you could blurt out something, Peter, because I know you were familiar with part of this when it was going down. Joshua's asked for money besides the land, and that kind of tripped everything up. Mr. Powell passed 6 years ago, and if they were willing to put the land in preservation with Joshua's, I think it's something that the town or the Conservation Commission should, in the future, look at contacting the estate and having a conversation with them about conservation of that property. The town already owns 18 or 20 acres of that farm that they took in for back taxes in the 30s. So there's a possibility of acquiring that land for open space. It's just a matter of playing the cards out in a reasonable manner.
What kind of money was looking for?
I haven't the faintest idea.
You have any idea, Pete?
That was a while ago, but in general, and I'm not sure whether it's mandatory now or just suggested, but that when property is accepted, a request is at least put forth for stewardship fees, and there's a price structure for a price per acre, and that covers potential legal fees in the future, especially if it's easements, 'cause there can be legal properties with easements. When new owners come along to the property, for example, and say, well, that's not my deal, or they inadvertently go over the borders and do something contradictory to what the easement restrictions are, and that sort of thing. So they ask for a certain amount of money per acre on that, and it always seemed a little bit presumptuous, or a little bit, over the top to me. Someone's giving you land and then you ask for money on top, but it's been a suggestion most of the time. It wasn't necessarily mandatory, but
Yeah. Is that something, we could, how many acres are we talking?
I
for the-
believe there's 30 some acres there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so, yeah, I can check, because it might, would it make sense to just check with Joshua and see what they suggest, because that would be, one option might be for the town to be asked to put up the money, to as a part of acquiring the property.
And I've mentioned to the first select woman that where the Sparks farm was and what the town already owns. Just in passing, his brother owned the other 30 acres. And I say he owned because he sold his share and his daughter sold her share of it this past year. And that's the property that's on the other side of the brook that runs up the hill and around Mark and Chipeta Lyons' house.
Okay.
So that is no longer owned by Mr. Powell. That brother lives in Vermont.
And they'd be looking to sell to us, or would they be willing to sell below market?
Well, I don't know. Right now, Mark and Chipeta own half of the property and a lady in Manchester owns the other half. It was a peculiar situation. So Mr. Powell sold his half. He was declaring bankruptcy. So Mark and Chipeta bought his half out. His daughter held out and chose to sell to a lady in Manchester. So that 30 acres of land is more or less tied up now because there's two different owners and those owners aren't going to agree on any kind of development or anything. So that's where the other half of that property sits right now.
Okay. Thanks.
So Bob, I'm sorry. I was missing some of this because I was buffering here. So the part that you talked about what part of it is still potentially available? That you said the brother sold to Mark and Chipeta and then his daughter sold to somebody from Manchester.
Correct.
Then there was
That's the 30 acres up on top of the hill around Mark and Chipeta's, and that land comes down, I believe, to the brook.
Okay, but what other part is available still? That's
Well,
owned by a pal?
the part that I don't know if I think you brought it to my attention that there are actually Julia had mentioned to me that she had found out that the pals were going to log.
Okay.
And that's the 30 acres that they logged about 8 years ago. They're going to go back in there and they're going to cut again. I noticed there's a couple foresters walking around last week, had a truck parked where the skid area was last time. So they're going to log that 30 acres again. They're out of the Midwest. I forget exactly where the family's from, but that's in a trust, and that's the part that's getting logged. And that was the part that was offered to Joshua's about 15 years ago.
Does that have frontage on Jared Sparks?
Pardon me?
Does that have frontage on Jared Sparks Road?
Yes, both properties do.
Both of them.
And the one that's getting logged probably has half to 3/4 of a mile on Jared Sparks.
And that comes down to basically to Cosgrove Road?
No,
Sorry.
it's where the Crooks had their nursery.
Yeah.
Okay, from there all the way down to the brook that runs out of the pond before you go up to Mark and Chipeta's house.
Okay.
Oh,
So it's yeah. And
So it's all that-
that abuts the Heck Property Trust? The heck easement, part of the heck easement?
Right, but the heck easement is on one side of the old carriage road. And the
Yeah.
Pal's property is on the other side of that old carriage road.
Okay.
And that carriage road goes down and comes out by Moose Meadow Campground. It's an old abandoned road from Jared Sparks all the way down to Moose Meadow.
So you're talking about potentially trying to connect or contact Mr. Powell where they still have it in a trust, the 30 acres that are in the trust that's being logged. Is that what you're suggesting?
Right, well, you're not going to talk to Mr. Powell, you're going to talk to the proprietors of the trust.
Okay, so he has trustees because he passed away?
He passed away about 6 years ago.
Okay, all right. And do you know who the trustees are? Are they family members?
They are. And that you can find that out with the town office building.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, something certainly to explore. Do you know if there are any foundations or any?
There are. That's the house foundation for where Jared Sparks' family lived is there. There's the house, there's the barn, and there's the carriage shed foundations. There's 2 wells, one right next to the house, and then there's one off that would have probably had water for livestock closer to Jared Sparks Road.
So it also has some obviously some historical value. So.
Right.
Well,
Right.
maybe we can, start looking at this a little bit more, get some maps and see how it all connects with the town property as well. And the town property do you happen to know if there's an easement on that? Carol, do you have a sense of if that's protected property?
No,
No, okay.
not. It was sort of a little piece, kind of not attached to anything else. I mean, and that's a piece of town-owned property, but it's not accessible, readily accessible.
Right, but if the town, let's say, at some point purchased this 30 acres, it potentially could become accessible.
Yeah, there would be nothing to prevent us from suggesting that the town also put this on, that if it's contiguous, then we could ask that parcel also be put under an easement by the town to protect it permanently, because we already own it.
Okay.
I have to take a look at I'd like to look at the map and see exactly what's what.
Yeah, well, we'll keep it on our radar then and maybe talk about it each meeting and see what information we can gather and kind of add on to this. All right. Anything else that people want to bring up under new business? The only other thing is the Wellington Wire. We did put in our 3-month page, if you will. And what I did is I advertised again for head steward. We still haven't had anybody step up to offer to be a head steward. We have a lot of good trail stewards, but nobody that's going to coordinate them quite yet. And the nature hike is also in the new Wellington Wire. So that's being advertised that way.
Kathy,
Yeah.
it's here.
Yay. Thanks, Bob. Thanks for waving the flag. I wanted to let you know too that I've been working with Tish over at the town office building to update our website. So we've had updates done to the membership list, to our trail maps. So we're using Jackie's trail maps now for the properties. The events like the workday and the nature hike are now under our events list. And I've added a couple of photos in there. One of, well, on the Knowlton and the Talmadge track, I've added photos of the signage under that particular area on the website. And also a photo of the rock with the plaques at Fenton Ruby Park. So that's been added to the website. So there's some things there that have been updated, and I thank Tish for her help. Oh. All right, that's it on my list. Anything else? Anything you want to put on the agenda for next time? I did check with Robin Campbell today, because at the end of April is when with COVID, the state had allowed for towns to have hybrid meetings. And at the end of April, that governor's edict, if you want to call it that, is going to expire. And she still hasn't gotten word if they're going to extend it or not. So I don't know if we're going to be having to do in-person meetings again, but I will let you know as soon as I know. Okay. All right, do I hear anybody want to adjourn?
I suppose.
Nora, you got the stuff, the maps and stuff for me, okay?
Did, thank you very much.
Okay.
And I want, thank you, Nora and Carol, for working on that. And thank you, Nora, for continuing to fill up the boxes at the park. Really appreciate that.
I got a question. Back up a minute on this request that we rescinded. Was that part of what we put in, or was that going to be put in?
We did not officially put it in as an ARPA request. So
Okay,
what
so
Carol said is,
the two of the amounts of money there did not include that, right? The tremor. Is that correct?
we had voted last time to request $1,200 from the ARPA committee, but I did not put the request in. I just put the other two requests in. And so what Carol's saying in her motion was that the Conservation Commission not put forward an ARPA request.
Just looking for
Or-
clarification on that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So what were the two requests again? What was the $2,800 for?
2,800 for forest management plan and
Oh, yeah.
3,500 for building materials for
Right.
open space properties
Okay.
for the trails. Okay, anything
Okay,
else you need to know,
thank you.
Pete? Yep. All right. All right, so I move that we adjourn this meeting. And we'll,
Second.
all in favor?
Here we go.
Bye.
Hi.
Hi.
All right, I look forward to seeing you, some of you on Saturday.
I'll
Yeah.
see you on Friday, Kathy. Friday
Okay,
morning.
thank you. Thanks, Nora. Yeah, just leave it on my front porch if I don't open the door.
Okay,
I should be up and around. So,
thanks. Bye-bye.
okay,
Bye. Night, night.
Good night.
okay.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Irene.